copper concentrate plant project having annual processing capacity of 1 million tons based on the copper gold mine uildwer. Based on the scientific and technological evolutions, the mankind is moving towards the community in its progresses of information and globalization, leaving the one of industrialization. Under such circumstances, in order to properly reflect both the positive and negative impacts of globalization, especially regional development trends, globalization, and to activate and sustain development, the State Great Khural of Mongolia has developed long-term, medium-term, and short-term development and industrialization policies, taking the interests and specifics of its country into account. The mining and heavy industry sector is one of the fundamental sectors of Mongolian economic development, which produces 17.1% of the gross domestic products and 67.1% of gross industrial outputs, and such position is assumed to be kept as a tendency for further progress. A worldwide consumption of mining products, in particular copper, is increasing. 74% of the world copper is consumed by Asian countries, and China, South Korea, and Japan account for 67% of total consumption, of which indicates that our country is in a very favorable market environment. Mongolia is emerging as one of major players in the world market in terms of the resources and output, thanks to uildwer, uildwer, and Tsagan deposits. On the other hand, based on the resources of these deposits, it becomes possible to develop a large integrated metallurgical industry for the processing of copper in concentrates. The production of copper concentrate has increased, making up an average of 1,378,000 tons between 2014 and 2016, or if it indicates it in pure copper, 249.2 thousand tons per annum. The current situation and difficulties expected in the future require urgent implementation of the project for smelting copper concentrate. Therefore, the Ministry of Mining and Heavy Industry has introduced a project of setting up an enterprise to process 1 million tons of copper concentrate per year by the state and private sector's partnership, based on the resources of molybdenum and copper deposits in uildwer and resources of copper and gold deposits in uildwer. In order to reach the advancement of the copper industry, which has had an exclusive significance for the economy of Mongolia, the Mongolian government and Mongolian State Khural. In order to reach the advancement of the copper industry, which has had an exclusive significance for the economy of Mongolia, the Great State Khural and Mongolian government has issued the following resolutions and decisions. For example, Resolution number 21 of the Great State Khural, Smelting and Processing of Copper Concentrate, dated 29 April 2010. Paragraph 2.72, Program of Activities of the Government of Mongolia for 2016 to 2020, Promotion of the setting up of an enterprise, smelting and purifying of copper in concentrates. According to Resolution number 88 of the Government of Mongolia, dated March 15, 2017, strengthening the work on the establishment of a copper concentrate processing plant. It was decided to set up a plant in Hamburg-Som of Umro province, and the government will own at least 10% of the total shares of such plant of processing copper concentrate without any investment costs. Effects of the project to the community and economics. Thanks to the implementation of this project, the following positive change will happen in the socio-economic structure of the country. Mongolia will fully satisfy the domestic demand with its own copper and copper products and become an exporter of final products. Since 2029, when uildwer underground mine will be put into operation, It will be possible to export 1.5 to 2 million tons of copper concentrate per year, and in metal indications it will be 450,000 tons of copper, 12 tons of gold, and 120 tons of silver. As a result of construction of a copper smelting plant, it will be possible to sell these metals through a metal exchange and to increase reserves of foreign currency in Mongolia. Production of copper cathode will ensure domestic production of new types of copper products and create value added. We will export only concentrates, however, will produce and deliver to the market value-added industrial copper products such as copper pipes, automobile radiators, and electrical parts. The option of processing and export of final products by 2021 will lead to a diversification of the economic structure and ensure a high GDP growth. As the foreign market price has significant impact on the price of copper concentrate, construction of a copper smelting plant will minimize the impact of foreign market prices on minerals. With the introduction of new modern technologies, will create new jobs, and the employees in such fields will be skilled and experienced in health and safety standards. Advantages of construction of an enterprise to process copper concentrates based on the uildwer mines. The copper mining plant uildwer, located in the south area, is determined having the ore reserves and capacity to supply the smelter with the resources for more than 100 years. The reserves of the following three main deposits makes up gold and ore reserves of uildwer deposit. Deposits of uildwer, Uildwer deposits, and Herugod deposit. Transportation and logistics. Among the south area locations, uildwer has the most favorable conditions for transportation and logistics, and given the possibilities to be based on the current operating mine, we consider that it is the best suited for the smelting plant. According to the above calculations, uildwer's position is most advantageous for transporting products through Ulaanbaatar-Zaminwood routes. Connection of Tavan-Tolgoi-Qashun-Sokhot narrow gauge railway with the Gansmot narrow gauge railway at the Chinese border crossing will allow it to freely transport the sulfuric acid to Chinese market to deliver to Chinese customers, and transporting costs will be 2.5 times less than transporting through the Zaminwood Alien Railway. In case of locating a smelting plant in Erdenet, first, it is impossible to perform transportation because sulfuric acid should be transported by special-purpose wagons, and narrow-gauge rail cars cannot enter from the Chinese side, and secondly, the transportation distance is 3 times longer than uildwer. Therefore, the cost of transportation of sulfuric acid exceeds its cost value. Thirdly, Erdenet is located in the Orkhon Seling Basin watershed. According to the Mongolian scientists' research on environmental balance of the region, the production and transportation of the toxic chemical, for example, sulfuric acid, is inappropriate due to its potential hazardous property to the ecology of the region. Power supply. Energy supply is an important part of the infrastructure in respect of energy supply to a plant to the process copper concentrates. Depending on production size and adopted technology, the project requires power of 50 to 100 megawatt. Mongolia has electricity networks with a capacity of 110 kilowatt and 220 kilowatts, as well as several power plants to supply this capacity, and it is expected to construct Tavan-Tolgoi power plant with a capacity of 500 to 700 megawatt to distribute electricity to the southern part of Mongolia. We believe that Mongolia is prepared to supply the project with electricity using the central energy system. A substation with 2 transformers of 125 kilowatt with 220 kilowatt transmission lines from the central power system has been built by the state budget at a distance of 8 kilometers from the uildwer mining site. The substation is not connected with the 220 kilowatt of electric network of China. In the future, the capacity of this substation will be increased by commissioning of the uildwer power plant. The mine and the flotation plant of uildwer have been supplied with electricity with 220 kilowatt line from China. The Ministry of Energy has submitted the conclusion that the plant for the processing of copper concentrate can be supplied with electricity. Water supply. As regard to water resources, Mongolia is heavily dependent on geographic zones. The northern regions of the country are subject to abundant rainfall and water resources, but the Gobi, southern and southeastern regions are limited of water resources. Since water resources are limited in the southern part of the country, groundwater at a depth of 50 to 400 meters under the ground could serve as main water resource. Obviously, groundwater resources cannot be a reliable source. In order to provide water for the plant industries of uildwer and Zesin in the South Gobi region, the government of Mongolia, along with the World Bank, has initiated a water pipeline projects or Gobi and Gobi. According to the study on water supply and consumption in the South Gobi region jointly with the World Bank, shortage of water is likely to occur next 10 years in such region. The following conclusions are made from these researches. It is expected that the water resource in the region will fall in shortages from 2018 due to ensure increasing needs of urban settlement, mining, industrial parks, free economic zones, agricultural facilities and environment, and as a result, by 2013, there will be a water shortage of 187,000 cubic meter per day, or by 2030, 120 liters per second. Therefore, the project implementers of the World Bank have issued a recommendation to support government policy on the use of not only groundwater but also surface water in the mining industry in South Gobi. On water supply, consumption of technological water in the plant for processing copper concentrate. Consumption of this water is 10 times lower than uildwer's consumption, and it is possible to supply water through underground pipes, which is practically used in uildwer, and subsequently, when the underground mine is commissioned, our processing capacity will be increased up to 120,000 to 150,000 tons a day, and water consumption will reach up to 900 to 1,100 liters per second, which means the determined water resources of 870 liters per second will be insufficient. Therefore, for the reliable and sustainable water supply of the uildwer mine, the plant for processing copper concentrate, uildwer power station, uildwer coal mine, and coal chemical industry in the Gobi region, Government of Mongolia, in priority, should support and implement project for the creation in the South Gobi of a surface water system by regulating surface water within frame of the World Bank initiated project or Gobi project, Gobi and the Ing River.